Is this thing on?
Yes. Hi, I'm Erin Spencer.
And I'm Stacy Smith.
And this is Between Two Brokers, a podcast about real estate, business, and life.
Hang in there. We're smarter than we look. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Between Two Brokers. Happy Halloween, honey.
Happy Halloween.
I thought you were going to come dressed in a cat suit.
I just got back from Ireland the night before last, and I didn't even realize today was Halloween until the girl at the coffee shop had on a Tinkerbell outfit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you just like, what is up with her?
No, well, then I realized.
Oh.
I mean, I knew it was like coming up, but I'm having a hard time like keeping up with what day it is right now. So happy Halloween. What are your plans?
Oh, to hand out candy.
Yeah.
John is very specific about Halloween. Now, I went online and I bought him 3 outfits that I thought he would look adorable in. And I bought 3 outfits for Bruno. And when they showed up, he disputed all of them. Uh-huh. But this is his thing with Halloween. Full-size candy.
Yeah. You got to be that house.
We are the house.
Yeah.
So apparently there is a woman in my neighborhood who's been there forever, and I think they have a house on John's Island, and she would leave a cooler out for all the kids. And last year, some teenagers came, obviously from another neighborhood, and cleaned out the cooler. So all the kids in the neighborhood that were used to that buffet were like, oh.
Wah-wah.
We had some kids come by, and then their parents texted, and they were like, hey, they just asked if they could come by again because you had like extra full size. I was like, absolutely.
So y'all put on costumes to hand out candy?
I do, but I mean, I have like all kinds of slutty cat suits that I just like, some kind of fighter pilot, and then I wear the stiletto boots with it. And then I've got the Superwoman. It's just whatever one I feel like putting on.
And will John dress up?
No, John will not.
Okay.
Bruno is very difficult. So this is the only way in which he's difficult. Anything with his paws and then any kind of outfit. He likes to be free. Mm-hmm. So I have purchased many, many, many costumes for him over the years, but the look on his face, and actually he will just not move. Like I'll put it on him and then he just sits there and just gives me the most pitiful look. Like, so, and then I'll be like, push him. So I can try to get a video. So anyway, he's not cooperative with Halloween. So I've got 2 boys that are just not cooperative with Halloween, but it's still going to be fun. I love it.
You get a good turnout in your neighborhood?
No, we only have, that's the easy part. So I only have to buy, 36 full-size candies. Well, I'm sure your neighborhood is crazy.
Not my section. No one comes down our cul-de-sac. I'm in like 2 kids. And
what?
Yeah. They all go to this other part of the neighborhood, Old Village Landing. It's like a zoo.
Yeah.
You can't even get a car in there because everyone's like standing in the streets. The adults have, margarita tables set up in their front yards, and that's where everyone flocks. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we used to buy a lot of candy, and then it was just a waste. I also think that kids don't want to walk up all of our stairs.
Yeah, and your house looks like a forest in the front, it's just...
Yeah, that's my husband's landscaping.
Well, I'm just saying, though, I remember when I was a kid and we were trick-or-treating, we're like, because, I was also afraid that, like, a monster was going to come out and get me.
Yeah.
And we're like, do we go to this house or not,
Yeah.
And yeah, your house looks very spooky.
So we the last couple of years, we've just turned off all the lights and sat in the dark and had dinner.
Typical.
Yeah.
You also hate Christmas.
I'll put out a bowl of loose raisins.
Oh, God. Do you give out carrots and apples,
I'm kidding.
too?
No. I do not hate Christmas. It's just that I never
like Christmas trees.
Well, I feel like they're wasteful. I got a very nice, what are they called? A fake Christmas tree for the mountain house. I just never spend Christmas at my house, so I don't see there's like any point in decorating. If I'm gone for like a full 2 weeks, I'm not putting up a Christmas tree to sit there and like suffocate and not get water while I'm gone. So this year I'll be spending it at the mountain house. I usually spend it in Winston-Salem at my mom's, but Not this year, so I'll be doing all my decorating up there.
Nice.
So also coming up, and actually this episode will be released on Election Day, the big fucking election that everyone's not been buying houses until it's over. You voted already. How was your experience?
Easy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Not too long of a wait?
No.
Spence and I have a tradition where we always wait until the actual election day. We ride our bikes. We stop at Brown Fox Coffee and get like several drink holders worth of coffee and hand them out to the poll workers because we're sweet. Mm-hmm. Okay, Stacy's not impressed. And we, sometimes it takes like 3 hours, and
you're okay with that?
I love it. It's like.
Do you talk to people in line?
Absolutely.
About
it's our neighborhood,
politics?
so we see
Where do
see
you
everyone
vote?
we know. Well, we've always voted at Moultrie Middle School, but this year we got moved to a church in the neighborhood. I think they just kind of like redistricted, so this will be our first time going over there. But it's full of our neighbors, so we know a lot of people in line. So it's just like shooting the shit. But I love the process. It's like one of my favorite days. And then we go out to breakfast. And this year we're going to an election party. We were invited to bring like a sleeping bag and a toothbrush and a change of clothes because, it can go all night. I don't think I will, but it's like a potluck voting watching party. So
Wow.
I don't know. So my dad and I had a tradition where we would, either like talk on the phone or like text all night as like counts rolled in. Mm-hmm. So this will be my first election without him. And so I'm like, do I want to just like stay at home and have margaritas and fall asleep early, or am I going to go to this party and be surrounded by other like-minded people? I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. Obviously, I can't relate to anything you're talking about.
Right.
I have no enthusiasm for politics whatsoever. Because, first of all, you don't really find anything out. Do you ever find anything out? It doesn't seem like the last few elections you actually know anything that night.
Yeah, the last two, we definitely had to wait until we woke up. Mm-hmm. But I just like the pomp and circumstance.
It's a tradition.
It's
for you. And you and Spence have always bonded over politics.
Yes.
But so did he grow up with the same type of enthusiasm about this stuff?
Yes. One parent was a Republican, one parent was a Democrat, and it was always talked about in their house. And then he was a history major and just kind of enjoys, the democratic process, as do I. But yeah, we love watching the debates together. I love election night. I love to watch Lester Holt, and just like, I don't know. I just love it. I look forward to it, and no matter what the outcome is, but I find it a fun thing, and it only comes around once every 4 years. So, and I'm also into the local elections too. It's not just presidential. So I'm very excited.
Good.
Yes.
Obviously, this is something that is brought up all the time, and we've talked about this before, I think a couple episodes ago. Generally, things slow down. First of all, this time of year in general, we're heading into the holiday season, and people are thinking about that and not necessarily buying houses. So it's definitely slowed down. But people also use reasons, excuses why they want to wait to see. And what we have found is, you guys can Google it. What happens in the stock market, or what happens in the real estate market during and after an election year? What happens in the stock market, in the real estate market during and after a Republican president comes into office, Democratic president? And you'll discover some very interesting things, which is, it's not really what you think, because everybody just does this, I'm waiting. I don't know. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Sometimes I think people just say it to feel or sound intelligent.
Yeah.
I have some people that are very, very wealthy who bring up things like, well, if a certain party is elected, it might, we think that they're going to, capital gains is going to be at stake and blah, blah, blah. Now, however, these things are not likely to go. It's not like somebody's going to become elected president and change happens. That's never been the case.
Yeah. November 6th is going to feel just like November 5th,
right?
Pretty much.
So
Tax-wise.
Everybody chill. And the other thing that I have told people, I do have a lot of clients, when I say that they're investors, they're buying investment property, but it's for some purpose. Let's say it's they're going to use the property to help their children, or they're going to use the property as a second home and maybe rent it out when they're not there. So it's not like they're buying a rental property, but they like owning real estate for investment. And those people, I mean, my conversation with them has been like now, like if anything that's for sale now and has been sitting on the market between now and January or February, it's a great time to strike and take advantage of some opportunities, because these people are not getting a ton of showings likely, and then they're starting to get nervous and whatever. If they have some reason to sell, like they have purchased something else, I think there's opportunities.
Yes.
I was showing last week a bunch of stuff downtown. Interestingly, a couple of the properties that I had shown had all sold in 2019, and the owners had not added. One owner had painted the exterior of the house. Let's call that, at the time, I mean, maybe it was $5,000, maybe it was $10,000, okay, if they did it right after they purchased in 2019. But that was it in terms of adding value. Both of the properties that I showed, the homeowners were asking more than 2 times what they purchased the property for. I don't think that properties have doubled in that in 5 years without any kind of value add. Well, and they're both for sale.
Still.
Yeah. But I just went back and I was like, because I look at that kind of stuff, and I always tell my clients, I'm like, don't look to see what somebody paid, because it's so distracting and it doesn't really matter, and it's just going to piss you off if they did purchase it before 2020. But like, that was so far off to me without any kind of value add that I was just like, that's just a major.
I'm having that same experience, particularly in my neighborhood. I'm showing some friends, and we've been looking for a while. Not only them, a lot of my buyers always ask, when did this sell last and how much did they buy it for? It matters to people. A lot of times, COVID, it didn't. Everyone was just like willing to do whatever. But I think particularly now, people do want to know. So when I, am preparing for all my showings and I put out the MLS listings, I will write it on there. They bought it for this and this, so I don't have to look it up while we're there. But same. I mean, I showed a house that was purchased in 2018 for $800 and something, and they're now asking 2.3, and they like replaced the ductwork. I mean, it's just crazy. And, my folks were like, well, if we offer, 1.8 or 1.9, they're still making like $1 million, in 5 or 6 years. Like, how could they not be happy with that? But, I did call the agent and just say, what gives? Because I know that they had already moved out of state. I said, how motivated are they? And he said, they're not motivated under 2. But it's like, you've moved, 5 months ago, your house has been on the market for 6 months. And you're not motivated to make $1 million profit for having a roof over your head and replacing ductwork?
Right.
It's crazy.
Right. So anyway, the bottom line is we're still seeing inflated prices,
Very much.
Unrealistic prices sometimes.
Buyers have like the grace to be picky now. It's a great time to be a buyer. I wish I had more buyers right now. Instead, I'm sitting on a bunch of listings.
In fact, I've had 2 pretty big deals go under contract and close recently, and my buyers have been able to purchase. The appraisal came in more than what we were under contract for. One of them thought they were overpaying, and the other one, I knew that they were getting a deal. They didn't see it, but I knew. It's just very interesting. You have to find out what the motivation is, though. If the person doesn't have anywhere to go, they don't know where they're going, they don't need money, then of course there's no reason for them to take less. But if they've moved on to something else and they really have to sell financially, there's opportunity. This episode is brought to you by Bill Payne with First Home Mortgage, NMLS number 283298. I've been using Bill for over 20 years for all of my mortgage needs. He's a pro. He's excellent at communication. What's happening with interest rates? We do not know. Call Bill at 843-532-1392, and he will answer all of your questions about mortgages, rates, and what's best for you.
Anyway, taking a left turn, I just got back from Ireland, where I think one of the most surprising things to me was how invested they are in the American election. Because There is so many American tech companies over there, like Google and Facebook and Microsoft, because several years ago they lowered their corporate tax rate from like 33% down to 12%. So all of these Silicon Valley companies moved their, I don't know if it's their headquarters, it's not their headquarters, but a lot of their offices over there. Everywhere you went, there was signs up, like propaganda about our election. And then if you sat next to somebody at a bar and they heard your American accent, like that's what they wanted to talk to you about and who you were voting for. Yeah, it was fascinating, especially for someone who loves to talk about politics over a cocktail. So the other big thing that I noticed while I was over there is kind of like the lack of seemingly a big wealth gap. Like I feel like when you're in America, you can go into any town and there's like obviously a rich neighborhood and obviously a poor neighborhood. And I didn't feel that at all. Have you been to Ireland? Okay, when you were in Scotland, did you notice that? Okay.
I couldn't tell. I didn't have enough time to really make that assessment.
Yeah.
And I was in I was in St. Andrews and Edinburgh. I mean, it wasn't enough. Like, I wasn't in like a real place.
They're taxed at like 50%. We learned that because we were trying to, no one like tips over there, and we were trying to tip. And they were like, don't worry about it because, it's taxed so high that we actually don't want to accept the tip unless you do it in euro. Anyway, I thought it was interesting. Like, I didn't see any fancy cars over there. I saw like 2 Range Rovers in 8 days. But it's like everyone's the same. There isn't this huge difference between like very poor and very rich. It just seemed like it was all very middle class, which it felt good. I liked it.
We a capitalist society. It's all about.
It really made you realize like how different America is.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Well, and no wonder that everybody's so fascinated with us. We're so weird.
We're so weird and greedy and selfish. Just like another point of this is people would like flash their lights to let you over in their lane. Like they're just like go out of their way to help one another. And I'm like, if you drive in America, everyone's like, me. I got to get there first. I'm not letting anyone cut in front of me.
Erin,
you can't turn.
Every single week, I have some person in a truck
blow their horn at you,
lay on their horn, kind of do a circle around me, and then flip me off. And I literally could not even tell you what I did. I couldn't, I did my signal. I got over. I mean, I'm thinking about something, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm driving the speed limit.
Or below.
Right. Maybe that was it. But it happens. And I really have no idea ever I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And then they look and I'm like, what did I do, sir? I think that I would say it's funny, but it's actually very scary. It's starting to get really scary.
People are aggressive and they're
probably packing heat. We in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another reason I don't door knock. Because you will get shot. There's just so many differences, little stuff like that. People also, I hope this doesn't offend anyone living in Ireland, but it's like they don't appear to care about their looks. Like you didn't see girls with the fish lips and tons of Botox, like much less give a shit about their outfit or makeup.
Well, that's what it was like growing up in New England, Erin. That's what I say. I had complete culture shock when we moved from Cape Cod to Winston-Salem. Are
you saying it's a Southern girl thing to? Maybe?
Well, now it's everywhere, and fashion is everywhere. But people in New York City are glamorous, obviously,
right.
But wealthy people in Cape Cod that were related to the Pilgrims that were, lived in a house with 8-foot ceilings and that they had inherited from the 1700s and stuff like that. Everybody graduated from Harvard. The kid that I grew up with works at NASA. Those types. The mom's in no makeup, and she's got the J. Crew charcoal sweater, and that's what I grew up with. Mm-hmm. And then they said we're moving to North Carolina. I pictured log cabins and bears. I don't know why. I must have read some book about the North Carolina mountains. And my parents sent me to a private school in in Massachusetts, I went to private school and public school, but Massachusetts is known for their excellent public schools. So that's not something that you have to worry about. My parents were both educators. They wanted me to go to private school in North Carolina. And I mean, I'm sure we were like the poorest people at the school, but like, I just remember these women with red lipstick and Chanel sunglasses in Mercedes. And then everybody went to church and everybody was dressed and stuff like that. I mean, I had never seen anything like that. I certainly never saw anybody wearing red lipstick in Cape Cod. And when John and I went back, so we went at the end of August back to my hometown, and there were like a couple new restaurants. And, you know, I said to my mom, I was like, people look like dressed up and put together. And I thought it was so weird. But she's like, oh, well, they're just on vacation, you know, they're coming down from Boston and whatever, you know, they're not like full-time. Cape Cod is, this is the way that I would describe that is like, you know, if you go to New England and you look at like in New England in the wintertime, I mean, you can see the people like the houses are worn. Okay. They're weathered, they're worn. The weather is brutal. Same in, Scotland, Ireland, the UK. And it's just kind of like a reflect, but that's the nature of it. You know, that's how you're supposed to be. I mean, I'm not natural. Are you kidding? You know? Like this is, there's nothing natural going on here, you know?
Yeah.
This is all enhanced. So if I lived in the hinterlands, I'm sure I would look quite different.
No, me too. I mean, we even like came across a funeral and no one was dressed for like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess they just pay their respects in a more casual way.
It's a much simpler life.
It is a much simpler life. And I loved it. A lot of carbs. I'm like carb loaded, a lot of alcohol. Always love going on vacation, but I always love coming home. I'm a routine oriented person and just ready for like salad and green juice and my workout classes. Great.
Yeah.
Great trip.
Good.
What's been going on with you? And your boyfriend moved in with you? How's that going?
It's excellent.
Have you had any furniture disagreements?
Oh, yeah. He's very simple and he's very wonderful and he doesn't care. The only things that he's sentimentally attached to are photographs. And if you've ever been to my house, you'll notice I don't really have a lot of stuff. I have no tabletops. And so he brought over all of these pictures and paintings that were important to him. One's called Kentucky Morning Turnout, which is humongous. I still no idea what I'm going to do with that. But anyway, I don't know where I'm going to put all this stuff because I don't have any tables. So then I started ordering tables and they started showing up. And he had a cardboard box meltdown the other day and just was like, everything keeps showing up in a box. And I'm like, this is how it's been and this is how it's going to be. And, you know, I said, I'm just trying to make this house a home for us, darling. And put your pictures of you and your grandmother up and your family and all that stuff. And so I like nesting this time of year. It's the only time that I really have where I can like, you know, work is not as busy as it normally is. So I just try to take advantage of that. And I'm thinking about the holidays and we're going to have Thanksgiving at our house. And so now he's there. I want the house to like somewhat resemble him in his man cave area. I'm not going to be putting horse picks all over my house.
Yeah.
Or Kentucky basketball, the Kentucky basketball blanket, the Kentucky basketball autograph sign, Arnie Palmer, you know, Pebble Beach golf course. Like those are the new decor items. So I have to find out how to distribute them fairly throughout my house. So
Good luck with that.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, that's been a very interesting thing and it's brought up some interesting conversations and we don't really have an agreement, but like I bought my house and own it and like we're not married and he's moving in and
how do you make it fair?
You know, and the other thing is, both of us think that we're reasonable and fair, and the same goes for you and I. Yet we don't agree on how this should go down. Because, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how it works. I think that there's a variety of ways that you can do this. Yep. And it's all about what makes sense for you. One of the conversations that we had, and this is, what you can do if you're in a relationship and the person moves in, get an appraisal. Sometimes two people don't, someone's like, well, I don't like that appraisal. Have your partner order an appraisal and you order an appraisal and come to the middle and then have them buy in half of 20% or something like that. I mean, I don't really know what's fair. I still haven't really figured it out. I've thought about a couple things, but I'm just not sure. I mean, my ideal situation is buying another house together, but neither one of us have a problem with my house. And the other part of that is, it would be, I mean, I've run the numbers. It would basically cost 3 times what we pay now to buy something that I would be satisfied with, that he could give a shit about.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't care about living in a house that's any different from mine. So, like, why would I do that, Just so I can, like, do what I think is fair, and then that's silly. So I have no idea how it's going to go down. No idea. And I think it's really complicated. But I think, I've had friends, clients that are friends that have gone into partnerships, which I discourage that. I just think it's very difficult. Even if you're best friends with somebody and you've known each other forever, you're going to separate at some point if you're not going to be together as a couple, for sure. Like, one of you is going to move on. So how do you handle that? It's quite complicated. Mm-hmm. And so, I just think you need to go talk to an attorney, talk about what your options are. You can read about different options online. But you and Spence have always had a very reasonable and interesting approach to things. Like, John's always asked me about that. He's like, how do they do it? I'm like, I don't know, but it's always sounded fair. You're like, when you guys you're like, I'm in charge of this, you're in charge of that. It's really just very simple, it seems like.
Yeah, it washes out in the end.
This episode is brought to you by Brian Wells at Coastal Creek Design. Check them out at coastalcreekdesign.com. Erin, remember when we had Brian on the podcast recently?
Yes.
I was so impressed with how he had a team of people, structural engineers, architects, designers, all in-house, all a one-stop shop for your renovation and new build needs. What did you think about it?
I think what they offer is invaluable because a renovation can be so daunting sometimes. You have no idea where to start. Do you start with the architect? Do you start with a contractor? Do you start with the house first? I don't know. No one knows. And so really having that one-stop shop makes the process so much more efficient.
Yeah, and simpler. So we definitely recommend calling Brian Wells at Coastal Creek Design if you're considering a renovation or new build project. We highly recommend them. And you know what else I like? I like the demeanor of everyone I know that works there. I think they're calm, I think they're chill, and I think you need that when you're doing a renovation, addition, or new build.
Definitely, because your emotions will be through the roof.
Yes, so check out the chill people at coastalcreekdesign.com. Like I told John, I said, look, I'm going to want to redecorate and I'm going to want to do things and I'm going to want to buy furniture and that's never going to stop. And I don't expect you to pay for any of that.
Yeah.
But don't get pissed about it. Just the thing is, most of the time he's gone during the week. And so the things arrive and then sometimes I'll say, oh, what do you think about this? He never even notices.
Yeah.
If I didn't say anything, he would have no idea.
Right.
I think you just have to like figure out what works. And, sometimes you make the same amount of money. Sometimes, there's so many different things that have to be factored in, but it is harder as you're older. And it's especially hard if you feel like you've made a mistake before because you want to avoid that. So I just said, let's let some time go by and then see what I want to do. Because, he doesn't want to buy investment property, but maybe that's a way for us to buy real estate together that doesn't. I don't know.
And I know you want to redo your back porch or something.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe he can pay for that.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Because I'm sure that's not going to be cheap. Nothing's cheap right now.
No.
We got a quote to paint the outside of our house $35,000.
Whoa.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Is it a French painter?
No.
That's crazy. No, everything is ridiculously expensive.
I was talking to another agent that primarily works downtown. I was talking to him the other day. I was like, how are things going? And he was like, awful.
What?
He just, he said, I just think it's the election and I don't know if anything will be different when we wake up the day after, but I hope so because business is in the toilet.
Well, it's not going to be that fast.
I know.
It's going to, it's going to be March or April before we're all slammed again. Come on. This is like this every year. Yeah. Awful.
I
please.
think people have a hard time remembering that because of COVID. Like COVID, there was no downtime.
Yeah, you're spoiled.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Awful. Come on. No. We are so, listen. And I'm sorry. We do so, we are so fortunate.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this one last thing. I had a crazy September. September was crazy. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of really upsetting things in my face. And I didn't know what to do in a lot of situations and stuff like that. So anyway, and now that all of that's behind me, I've decided to do a lot of meditating again, which I love. And I'm like, show me the sign and what's next and, picturing my future self and everything like this. Andrew Huberman this week had a podcast with this guy on that talks about, I forget what he calls them, but it's difficult people. And I think the guy's name is Bill Eddy. Oh, we always love two first names. I think it's Eddy. Anyway, check out the Huberman podcast from end of October. And I am listening to his book too. And the fact is we deal with these difficult personalities all the time. And I was in Savannah with my college roommate last weekend and I saw this fabulous gay man riding down the street and with a bike, and he had all these flowers. He was taking him to the farmer's market, and I was like, "That's going to be me," and then I'm never going to have to deal with a difficult person again. And it was so funny because I did this meditation and I saw myself and I was like, I'm a philanthropist. I'm just helping other people and I'm giving away money and all this. And that's where I see myself and saw myself and talking about it, raising money, giving it away. And I have a lot of clients that are like this right now. So I think they've really inspired me. They're really incredible people. He says, well, what professions are where are these people drawn to? Okay. He's like, well, the medical profession, 100%. They're, drawn to churches. They're drawn to nonprofits. They're drawn to. So there goes my philanthropy thing. I'm still going to have to deal with difficult people. Higher education, politics. And the interesting thing is it's and attorneys too, because they can hide behind I'm doing good for people, and they can kind of get away with it. And they also feel like people in that space are not going to fire them because, again, it's the church and I'm praying, whatever it is. Yeah. I'm just saying. But that was so interesting. So my point is, even fabulous gay flower guy has to deal with difficult people. They don't like his panties, and so it's just a part of life, and being able to spot it and knowing how to handle it and everything, I think is a thing. And
I think that's also maybe an American thing, because I'm just, as you were telling that, I was thinking about when we went to rent the car in Ireland, we'd go to Hertz. And the guy behind the counter was super excited to be doing his job. He was so friendly. He was so nice. He was eager to give us recommendations. He was so engaging. It's have you ever been to a car rental counter in America where the person just absolutely was not fucking miserable back there and rude and just short and just hated their job? Trevor
Noah talks about this in his stand-up about how Americans are always flabbergasted waiting in line.
Yeah.
And then they're just oh, yeah. And then they flabbergast together and then they look at each other. Can you, Anyway, no, but I do think culturally it's a thing. And then also the guy, the guy, so this guy is a psychotherapist and he's an attorney. And he says, like, give people grace. Like, they were either born this way, like genetically, or things happened in their childhood. It doesn't mean they're bad people. Like, believe me, their lives are very difficult. So everything takes care of itself, you know. He said that 40, 50 years ago that this was not as much as of a thing. And so it's a generational thing. It's a societal thing. And I totally agree. I mean, I think it's much more difficult to be, there's a lot of things to be pissed off about if you're in our society and exposed to all of this and the way people talk to each other online and on the news and everything. So yeah, when I get stressed out, I completely think about ejecting myself into a jungle or a field or, you know, I'm like, I just need to go be in nature and then I'll be good.
They don't have champagne in nature.
I'm fine without champagne.
Chocolate?
I'm fine without it.
Okay.
Yeah, I really am. Anyway, let's wrap up. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Tell all of your friends, and we will see you next time.